Hi, I'm Diane Marie Collins, and you have entered the DM Zone. The DM Zone recently went on the road to the Sedona International Film Festival in Sedona, Arizona. We visited with Ed Asner. He was live on stage in Oxymoron, and Richard Dreyfuss in a movie called The Lightkeepers, a wonderful romance set in 1912. We then visited with Ashley Wren Collins and her partner Sean Bennett in a fun movie called Chasing Taste about a film critic who loses his sense of taste and smell. Then Sean Lackey and Kevin Farley were in a fun movie called The Yank about an Irish American who finds out he may not be as Irish as he thinks. Lots of fun, great humor. You really need to see that movie. Also, serious topics were covered at the festival: Alzheimer's, water shortage, peace, and immigration reform. These movies, documentaries, and shorts were Rooted in Peace, Lost Music, The Immigration Paradox, and Slingshot. It was a wonderful time being able to visit with these creators, young, old, it didn't matter. The thing that was similar about all of them, the passion that they felt for their craft. If you've never attended the Sedona Film Festival, the Sedona International Film Festival, you really need to. It is a must-see. It's exciting and fun, parties, movies, live theater, everything combined. I hope you find the time to put it on your list soon. Let's watch these interviews now, okay? Hi, I'm Diane Marie Collins, and you have entered the DM Zone. We are here at the Sedona International Film Festival, and I am visiting with director and writer Greg Reitman of the movie, which I think is wonderful, right on your table, right on your shirt.
Rooted in Peace.
I love it. Rooted in Peace. And this is part memoir, part journey, but you've done some incredible interviews. You had from Mike Love to Pete Seeger to
Deepak Chopra.
Yeah,
Ted
go on with the list for me. Yeah,
Ted
Turner. How did that happen? I mean, you know, it's just all these amazing things. Tell me about how the film came about.
You know, the film really started post 9/11. I was walking through the airport and almost got arrested for drinking my bottled water, just like the water you see here. You know, I just thought it was just regular water and I could just drink my water, and I got stopped. And almost got arrested for not giving up my water. And it was at that moment in time where I started to question our freedoms, our civil liberties. I started to examine, you know, what was going on in America and what was going on in the world. And from a prior experience living in Israel during the first Gulf War, I had lived in a fear state. I had seen what fear does and what fear creates. And when I was in Tel Aviv, I remember the days where you would walk through a cafe or a restaurant and there'd be bag checks everywhere you go. And that moment I said, oh God, I hope this would never happen to America. And then when I saw that happening to America as I was going through the JFK airport, it started to dawn on me like, wow, this is sort of a mirror of what war creates. And I decided that an incident happened to me 25 years ago had sort of taken precedence. It had come to my head where it had reached a place in my mind where I thought this story had merit. And so I decided to create Rooted in Peace, The Giving Tree, which is really the backstory of my experience living in the first Gulf War, living in war, going through a little bit of a PTSD, not crying when I was at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial, and coming back to my campus with tears and creating this idea that I was going to save the world by planting trees and naming it The Giving Tree, Rooted in Peace.
You took my second question away, which I love, because I was going, rooted in peace. Where did the rooted part come from? So this is exactly it.
Yeah, so the story was, you know, we all know the book, The Giving Tree, and the story and the myth behind trees. And I woke up and I said, this is it. It's called The Giving Tree, Rooted in Peace. And it was really the idea of marrying, you know, the environmental movement with the peace movement and bringing them together as one. And the importance of them to be together as one. It's not one or the other, they are interconnected.
I heard this word enlightenment, and I wondered, does a human being have this potential?
Since the beginning of time, we have been at war with ourselves and our environment.
Everything we do is violent.
If we don't talk about what war does, then we carry it forward.
Why is peace so difficult to achieve?
It's business. There's a market for this.
Here we are at the E3 show.
Violence is a preventable disease. We're not born violent. Our culture teaches us how to be violent.
Does the public understand the nuclear issues?
One button push away from blowing the whole place up.
The atom bomb didn't wake people up about warfare. The devastation of the natural environment has not woken people up about environmentalism.
It was time for a change.
If you want to change the world, start with yourself, be a good example.
I met the legendary folk singer Pete Seeger.
I'm glad that I live in a country where we can disagree without trying to shoot each other.
When I met the Beatles, what we were searching for was an understanding of the unity of all. And then Maharishi appears in our lives.
Kind of like you're on a spiritual safari. Creativity and more energy and clarity, that sounds like something everybody could use.
My mind was awakened, and now, heartfulness.
I met Greg. He took me off guard and he said, "So, are you dating anybody?"
Her love opened my heart.
Just put this on your earlobe.
I was on the path of personal health and consciousness. But how does our health relate to global awareness?
You cannot separate yourself from the world.
There's two competing food systems. There's agriculture and there's agribusiness.
We've had 80,000 new chemicals introduced into our environment.
We are depleting our natural resources at an incredible pace.
We have to understand that this planet, it's one life support system.
As we continue to destroy the very fabric of life, I had this crazy idea I was going to save the world by planting trees.
We think tree is not a part of our body. If the tree exists, you exist. If it perishes, you perish.
We are one ecosystem, we are one humanity.
How about your bonsai tree?
Cool. We can be human only together.
When you experience the transcendent, negativity starts to lift away like bright light of peace radiating.
Peace is a state of existence, and we certainly can get there.
If the forest is to be green, every tree must be green. If there's going to be peace on earth, everybody has to feel that quality of peace.
By becoming one with the world, we'll become one with each other.
Individual transformation is global transformation.
The synergy. The eclectic group of interviews that you did, where did you think about, how did that come about?
You know, one of the things that happens when we won at Sundance, we won the Audience Award, it gave me a little bit of clout, a little bit of prestige. When I put out the emails and I started to reach out to the various different people, people would take me seriously. The other thing is also, in any time you make a film, you need luck. And we were very, very lucky. There was an individual by the name of Romeo Thresha who lives in Ireland. He's a Tibetan Buddhist. And we had a brilliant interview with him on camera. And he was like lightning. He was like, who do you want to speak to? He's like, Deepak Chopra, no problem.
Yeah.
Donovan, no problem. I'm like, really? And within 24 hours, our cameras were in New York interviewing Deepak Chopra. And then within 4 months, we were interviewing Donovan, who also took it upon himself to make it clear that he wanted to do the interview not only with him, but he wanted me to interview David Lynch. And so, and for me to go to Fairfield, to Maharishi University, to do them both. So it was really a combination of people, you know,
believing in what you wanted to say,
believing in the story, but also having the wisdom behind them to really to see through that there were some important people that they felt would help in this storytelling. And when you see the film, and you see Deepak Chopra, which is married all throughout the film, and you see David Lynch, and you see Donovan, and you see a little bit of Romeo at the end, you sort of understand, you know, how everything, you know, manifests itself.
And the music track, from what I understand, this is so important that actually the music came first.
Well, the music, you know, in all my films that I've done, music has always been an important piece of, you know, the spine of the movie. And it's a combination of both song and score. in this situation, we had phenomenal composers, Daniel Rojas from Costa Rica and Andrew Rayer from London. They write together. They wrote about 60 or 70 minutes of original score for the picture.
Oh my goodness.
And then we licensed about 22 tracks of songs, in the film. And again, serendipitously, when we interviewed Mike Love, he's like, oh, by the way, I have a song that I wrote with George Harrison that I think that might fit for the movie. And it was and it was called Pisces Brothers. It's one of my favorite songs in the movie. It's a beautiful song. And I think, as we went along the journey, even when we interviewed Pete Seeger, the idea of cutting to his music, a scene that kind of like brings you back in time. And we did the same thing with Donovan.
Sure.
We use these iconic people and their music to help tell the story. So really what it does is it allows the viewer to experience the film in an emotional way. Because this is not...
Because music is emotion. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. And the key thing here is that you're going, we go to movies to be entertained.
Yeah, sure.
When we think about documentaries, sometimes they can be long, they can be dry, they can be...
Is it over yet?
Is it over yet? And we did not want that. We wanted to...
And I have to say that it's too stirring to be that. The story, what you want to say is too much to leave it be boring.
Yeah, we wanted to make an entertaining film. That was the most important thing. We did that with our last film, Fuel, and we wanted to make sure we did the same thing. We wanted to make sure that every scene was, moved you. And if it didn't move you, then we cut it out.
Let's talk a little bit about the business of independent films.
Sure.
You've already mentioned that you've won at Sundance.
Correct.
And that gave you some legitimate,
Well, it gave me some, my first film also gave me some legitimacy too. I made a gem of a historical film about the Wrigley family. I was one of the first
here in Arizona. Yeah, the Wrigley.
I was one of the first independent filmmakers to ever put a Wrigley on camera.
I love it.
Ada Wrigley Schreiner, who was the granddaughter of William Wrigley Jr., the chewing gum magnate who owned the Cubs, who also owned Catalina Island. And that film was narrated by Peter Coyote and was just a gem of a film. It went national on PBS. We sold thousands of DVDs exclusively on Catalina Island, and till today, it's a classic film. So
I love it.
That film, when people see it, they still love the film, and it really created the relationship. When I met Josh Tickell, when he saw the film, he wanted to work with me, and the rest was history.
And that's how you had the second film for Sundance.
Well, his short film, interesting enough, The Veggie Van Barrage, when we opened at Temecula and we won the audience award, his short film opened for my film. So for the whole 4 days, we had about an entourage, about 30 people, and Josh just went everywhere with us. So we sort of adopted him, but he was such a loving, kind-hearted person that we just loved him. He just became part of our family.
Now, I had a really good friend that I lost this last, it was my husband's friend that I was through, was Pete McAlevey. So I learned a lot about independent films, and a lot of people that attend the films don't realize this really is a marketing vehicle, hopefully, for your independent films, whether they be short or long or narrative or whichever. How's that happening?
I think it's more like a testing bed. I think what's really interesting, like I'll give you an example, like for example, this artwork that we created, I kind of thought like this was sort of old artwork that didn't really fit, and we created this new artwork, which you see in the program. And what I found in like the last 5 days was everyone was resonating to the old artwork. So here I'm thinking I need to create something.
I need something flashier.
I need something flashier, something new, more of an advertising piece. And what I actually learned was my original concept that I did 5 years ago, the stamp, the collectible, iconic image, still has that same fervor that draws people in. So I think we're going to end up going back to this original artwork, which is very interesting. I never would imagine that.
I love it.
So
you don't know how things are. So you're saying you use it as a testing.
You use it as a testing bed. You use it to measure your audience. It also gives you the opportunity, as a filmmaker, if there's something not right with your film, that you can still go in and tweak.
Right.
Because until you strike your answer print or now make your DCP, until you're going out.
Wait, let's talk English. That was some jargon there.
DCP is the new film format, digital cinema projection. I don't know what it means.
I know. Okay.
Where you put it, it's electronic way of moving your files in a theatrical way.
Thank you.
Versus in a 35 millimeter where they would actually carry
the old
film,
ship the old stuff out.
And then ship them, and now everything is electronic.
Okay.
So you still have time
until it becomes the final
cut. Until you actually release theatrically. So we have a window. you know, of 4 to 5 months before, or maybe 6 months before we actually go out, you know, into the marketplace in a theatrical way, which will be in the fall.
So hopefully things for Rooted in Peace are moving along and you're doing well, and we hope you wish you nothing but continued success. I think that what you're saying in the story is so needed, whether it will reach everyone, whether it finds what it needs to, it's something that perhaps it will, I hope.
I hope so. You know, the thing about like any of these films is I always believe if you make a really good film and it speaks to an audience, it will find its way into the marketplace. And, you know, you have to believe in that, and you have to believe in word of mouth. And even like, for example, I'll give you an example. Yesterday when we had our screening at the Mary Fisher Theater.
Right.
One of the most I found being here at the Sedona International Film Festival was Patrick Twice.
Right.
He was just the kindest, most generous. He's the executive director of the film festival, and he just makes your experience just so wonderful. So I asked everybody in the theater, say, look, if you really enjoyed this film, Rooted in Peace, will you do me a favor and will you thank Patrick?
Right.
And at the last night at the gala event, he came up to me and said, Greg, because I had about X number of people come up to me thanking me. He goes,
for Rooted in Peace.
And he goes, I just want to thank you. Well, it was really a thank you to him.
Absolutely.
For, you know,
for allowing you, for making you
us,
one of the films.
Yeah,
yes, all of the above.
Because all these films, you know, have gone to either Sundance or Tribeca or South by Southwest
and this is the world premiere for it.
This is our world premiere screening, and we felt, you know, in terms of the content, you know, in terms of spiritual conscious, health seekers, peace seekers, spiritual seekers, this was a great place.
Yeah,
for
Sedona
us.
is definitely
It was a great place for us to, you know, sort of usher our film into the world.
It's wonderful. So good for you, and I think it's great. And I agree with you. Patrick is fabulous. He's been just excellent. And I will tell you that everyone from the big names all the way down say that this film festival is fabulous, and I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
that
you know,
you're
I mean,
experiencing it
you
too.
go there and you also, you know, you're in Arizona versus going to be children from Los Angeles to New York. So to see how that demographic works in Arizona, you know, if it's working, that's a good sign.
Yep. Yep,
You know,
we're pretty much America.
Pretty much, you know, and different, and you know, you're not like Los Angeles, you're not like New York, and so again, you know, to be able to go to different places around and to really get that litmus test is invaluable.
I love it. I love it. Thank you again for spending time with me. Stay right there. I told you would enjoy those interviews. I had so much fun at the Sedona International Film Festival. And remember, you have been in the DM Zone. Come back soon.